What up, YouTube? It's your boy Jerome. I am here today. I'm gonna do a mini review of the movie Bird Box that came out on Netflix, I think a week ago today. Not today, but a week ago. And, before I even get started, originally I was not planning to watch this movie because I really didn't even know too much about it. When I logged into my Netflix account a few days ago, I saw the movie up there and I'm like, okay, whatever. I will skip right past it to go to what I was looking for. And then I started getting on social media. I started seeing the memes. I started seeing everybody talk about it, how good it was. Then I saw people talking about how, they weren't impressed with the movie. So then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go watch it for my own sake and, see if I like it or not. And then on Christmas Day, because I didn't really do anything on Christmas Day, I stayed at home, watched the basketball games, and that was about it. So that later that night, I started to watch it. And I didn't start to watch it. Later that night, I looked at it on Netflix and I saw that it was 2 hours and 4 minutes. I'm like, who the fuck has time for 2 hours in the movie? So, I had to tell myself, I said, you know what, you gonna watch it. So I started watching it and it was about 11:30 at night. I said, you know what, it's time for me to go to sleep. So I went to sleep and then I woke up Wednesday morning, getting ready for work, and I just turned it back on and I started watching. I'm like, okay, this is really good. And I just looked it up before I came on the camera to talk about it. And so far, Netflix says that the movie has 45 million people have logged into their Netflix accounts to watch the movie. So that's pretty good for Netflix. So now we're gonna go ahead and just get into this. And we'll have spoilers in it. I hope everybody has watched this movie up to this point. Like I said, it's been out for a full fucking week. So I hope everybody has at least watched it. And if you haven't, you might want to click off the video right now and go watch the movie because, like I said, spoilers are coming. So, Bird Box, good movie. I don't know if it necessarily lived up to the hype that everybody was talking about, and the memes are fucking hilarious. But I like the movie. Would I watch it again? Sure. So the movie starts out. We have Sandra Bullock. Her character's name is Mallory. Mallory is pregnant, and I don't know if she and her sister lived together. Sarah Paulson, her character's name was Jessica or something like that. And like I said, she's pregnant. We don't know where the child's father is, and so we do see Sarah Paulson and I want to make sure I know what her name is before I even keep calling her Sarah Paulson. I mean, it is her real name, but let's see. Jessica, I was correct. So we see Jessica and Mallory. They are going to the doctor's office to, check up on the baby. And when they get there, there's this woman in this tracksuit there. And she's looking at Mallory. I'm like, there's something wrong with that bitch. Like, mark my words, there's something wrong with her. So, Mallory goes through with her appointment. Everything is good. Now, we do notice that Mallory does not have a connection with her baby, which that's not often times, unusual or anything like that. Because there are certain times, women are pregnant and they just don't have an attachment to their baby. And I kind of wonder if there was a backstory that they didn't tell us about this, like maybe her and the father, plan on having a baby, but then somewhere along the road he left her and she's stuck with the baby. She didn't want to have an abortion. And then, the doctor also did tell her about other options, which she could have done adoption. So she took those adoption papers that pamphlet that she gave her, and Jessica and Mallory, they left the hospital. Now, I didn't go too deep into this, which I just thought about it. So there is this epidemic that's going on where people are committing suicide. Now, it originated in Russia and I think Europe. So like I said, people are committing suicide for no reason whatsoever. So we go back out and we see, a lot of commotion going on in the hospital. And then we do see that woman that was sitting in the hospital when Mallory and Jessica first got there. She's bamming her head against a window in the hospital. You just see her going boom, 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 and just, bleeding from the head. I'm like, oh my God, like what the fuck is going on with this shit? So then, Jessica, she goes down there stairs to get the car. And then when we see Mallory, she goes down there too. And they started driving. And like I said, it's just a lot of stuff going on in the street. Cars are blowing up. People are killing themselves. And it's just weird. And, we see Jessica, like I said, she's driving the car. And then out of nowhere, her eyes, they change. They look like they got not dilated, but they just look, they increased. They got bigger. Her pupils look like they, whoom. And the car just flips. And I'm like, oh shit, Mallory's in this car. She's pregnant. Like, oh my God, like checking on the baby. But that's not what Jessica's plan is. So they both hop out of the car, and we see Jessica. She's walking, and then out of nowhere, she just steps closer into the road, and a bus comes by and just hits her. I'm like, oh shit. So then we see, people in the streets. They're running. Mass chaos is going on, and people keep picking up Mallory, but then people keep toppling over. I'm like, oh shit, she's pregnant. Like, worry about the baby. So then we see she's in front of this house, and there's a woman that comes outside to get her. And then we see John Malkovich. His character name is Douglas. Douglas is like, lead a bitch out there, you come back in here. I think his wife's name was Lucy. He's ordered, you come back in here. And she's like, she's pregnant, like let's help her. And she gets her up, and again people just keep toppling over. I'm like, I'm not see that this woman is pregnant. So then we see John Malkovich's wife, Lucy. She thinks that she's talking to her mother, and then there's this burning car, and the bitch just hopped into the burning car. I'm like, oh shit, like that car's on fire. And then that car blew up. I'm like, what the fuck? So then we see another character, Tom, that's played by Trevante Rogers, whatever, I can't think of his last name. He swoops her up and they run toward the house. Now Douglas does not want to let them in, which I don't blame him. Douglas was the voice of reason in this whole fucking movie. If people had listened to him, a lot of this shit that happened in this movie would not have happened, because, like I said, he may be an asshole, but he was the voice of reason. And at this point, he was so pissed off at Mallory because his wife died because she was trying to save, Mallory. How would I feel? I'd feel the same exact way. I hate to say it, but I would feel the same exact way. But I wouldn't want to kill the bitch. I wouldn't want to do anything to her because, like I said, pregnant, not gonna fuck with him. Now, here's the weird part about this movie, because they're all in the house, and they're in this guy. His name is Greg. They're all in his house, and I think Douglas was Greg's neighbor. And people keep knocking on the door to come in. I know they ask them, they don't want to let them in because, the eyes. And they talk, but they keep letting people in. They keep letting motherfuckers in like it's the Sunday dinner or some shit. Like, what? Like, ain't no way in hell. If there's an epidemic, and this gave me Walking Dead vibes, like, because with the Walking Dead, we don't know how stuff started. And with this movie, we don't know how this happened. And it's, again, post-apocalyptic, just like The Walking Dead. But I'm looking at them like, why are y'all letting... And then it's Trevante's character. His name is Tom. Go figure. He just letting motherfuckers in. I'm like, dude, you black. Why the fuck you letting these people into this house? Like, ain't no way in the fuck that I'll be letting motherfuckers in this house. Then we see this cop. And we see Machine Gun Kelly. I forgot what his character name was. And then we also see Lil Rel. I think his character's name was Charlie. We saw an older lady. I don't remember what her name was. So they're all in this house together. And they cover everything up so that no sunlight comes into the house. And I think that's what it is. When they look into the sunlight, whatever the creatures are hidden in the sunlight, and they, I guess, possess them to kill themselves. That's what was a little weird to me, was the creatures. Oh God, those creatures. But where am I at now? I'm trying to think of where we're at. They let everybody in the house. I think they were running low on supplies as well, so they had to go try to get some supplies. And Lil Rel's character, I think he was a manager of a grocery store, and he locked it up before he left. I know that at one point in the movie they let another girl in. They didn't even, they let her in because she said she was pregnant. I'm like, I don't know that bitch is pregnant. I can't see that bitch is pregnant. So I would have left the bitch outside to die. Sorry to tell you, the bitch would have stayed outside and died. I don't give a fuck. Because I don't know that the bitch is pregnant. I don't know that the bitch is not possessed by these creatures, these demons, whatever, she would have stayed her motherfucking ass outside. Period. Point blank. Bitch when it came in my house. Oh, I did forget that the house that they're in, it has surveillance cameras around it, and the guy that owns it, Greg, he straps himself into a chair and looking at the fucking surveillance cameras, and then Douglas, voice of reason once again, said, I wouldn't look at that camera if I was you. And I'm right there with Douglas. Fuck that shit. I'm not about to look at these motherfucking cameras for a bitch ass thing. Well, Greg looked at the cameras, and then, they leave Greg in there, and then we just hear, some bumping, and Greg knocks himself over and kills himself. I'm like, well, should have listened to Douglas. Like, really should have listened to that motherfucker. Like I said, Douglas is a asshole, but he was a right asshole. So, I mean, I would have listened to him with everything he said, because he was pretty much right about basically everything in the movie. And we're gonna move over to when they went to like I said, we're gonna move over to the grocery store when Little Rel, Mallory, Douglas, and who else was in that car with them? I really forgot who else was in the car with them. They all went to the grocery store. Oh, and Tom, he was driving the car. Man, when Tom was driving that car, he was using the GPS to drive the car. So, he just running over shit. That's a speed bump. Speed bump. Speed bump. I'm like, that's a lot of motherfucking... No, not speed bump. That's the curb. I'm like, really? You that close to the curb? And the car has a sensor in it? You talking about that's a curb? Nigga, that ain't no curb. And I'm sorry to say nigga, but that ain't no curve. That... And then we look out and we can see... Nah, you running over nothing but dead bodies. You just crushing their heads. And, when they were trying to get to the store, the car had... Like I said, the car had sensors around it. So the front sensor went off, then the back sensor went off, then the side sensors went off. I'm like, oh shit, like what the fuck is going on? But luckily enough, they finally made it to the grocery store. They get to the grocery store, there is a lot of shit in there. And once again, Douglas said something that made absolute sense to me, and I would have did what Douglas said. They had so much shit in that grocery store, they could have stayed there and been good for, a good amount of time. But no, they need to get this stuff back to the house. I would have been like, shit, fuck that. Leave me right here. I'm good. Y'all go back. Like I said, I'ma stay. But then, we I think there was a big ass freezer, and there was somebody in there, and Charlie knew who it was, so they opened the door, and when they opened the door, this motherfucker that was in there was possessed by the creatures, demons, whatever you want to call them, and to make Charlie sacrificed himself to save the others. I'm like, oh shit, I don't know that I would have done that. I always said, I want every man for himself. Like, I'm sorry. I probably would have been a Douglas of this movie. Like, I just don't know if I would have done that. Now we do see them go back to the house. And I don't know how long it was after they got back to the house, but Machine Gun Kelly and that girl that he was fucking in the laundry room, they steal the car and leave. I'm like, and we never saw them for the rest of the movie, so I don't know what happened to those two motherfuckers. And I'm hoping that they took all the shit out the car before those two stole that fucking car. Like, I really hope they did, because if they didn't, they were fucked like Chuck. So then we had the girl that they let into the house. Her name was Olympia, I believe, and she was pregnant. She was indeed pregnant. And she was trying to bond with Mallory about her baby, because she was telling her, if she had a girl, she wanted to name her daughter Cinderella, call her Ella for short. Well, she asked Mallory if Mallory had a name for her child. Absolutely not. Mallory don't even give a fuck about her child. She would barely give a fuck about your child. But we're gonna tell a little bit later. And actually, let me do a little bit of a backtrack. Where the movie first started out at. So the movie started with Sandra Bullock in a boat, and she's going down a river or stream, creek, whichever one she's going down. And she had a little boy and a little girl in the boat with her, and their names are Boy and Girl. And they 5 years old. I'm like, boy and girl for a 5-year-old. So we're gonna go back to where I was just at, because I forgot that I didn't even mention that shit. So where was I at? Olympia. She's pregnant, and What was I saying? I literally forgot what I was saying. Olympia, she was bonding with her. Oh, she was telling her what her kid's name was going to be. And she asked Mallory if she named her child. Nope. Now, here's the weird part about this. Like I said, they were both pregnant. And I guess they were both around the same amount of months pregnant. Because then we see later in the a little bit further in the movie that they both went into labor at the same time. Now, go back just a little bit because I thought about where I was going with that. So, Olympia's stupid ass, there was somebody that knocked at the door. She didn't go get nobody to ask them if she could let this motherfucker in the house. And she let Gary in the house. And Gary was weird, to say the least. You know, Gary talking about how he saw the creatures, how he was in an insane asylum, and the people trying to hold their eyes open so they can look into the light. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if that's the case, how are you here? Like, I was with Douglas when Douglas pulled that shotgun on that motherfucker. I would have shot the bitch too, but no, they didn't shoot him. Douglas wanted to put the motherfucker back out, and you know, but nobody wanted to listen to Douglas. Douglas was the voice of reason in this shit. Again, like I say, voice of fucking reason. Oh my god. So they locked Douglas up, and now we gonna move back to where I was. So Mallory and Olympia are in labor at the same time, coincidentally. That was very coincidental that they both went into labor at the same time. So they both had their babies. Mallory has a little boy, and Olympia has a little girl. Now, also, I didn't mention that Olympia did tell, you know, Mallory that if anything happened to her, she wanted her to take care of her kid. Well, something happened to her. Gary's dumb ass. No, Gary's possessed ass is what it is. So Gary, like I said, he's possessed. You know, he rips off all the paper on the windows of the house, letting all the light into the house. So now anybody who looks into the light, they're gonna see the creatures. So he goes upstairs. He rips off the paper in the room where they are. Olympia, she looks into the light, and then we see Olympia. You know, Mallory's like, "Give me the baby, Olympia. Give me the baby. Give me the baby." So she gets the baby from her, and Olympia just jumps out the window. I'm like, "Well, there go that bitch." And then the older lady that was in there, you know, he opened her eyes, and she stabbed herself. Ouch, shit, that hurt like a motherfucker. I hit myself too hard. She stabbed herself in the neck. Ow. Ow. Ow, I hit myself in the neck. Okay, I didn't mean it. So the old lady killed herself, and you know, Gary trying to get the babies from Mallory, and what happened? And did he fight Tom before or after this happened? I think he fought Tom before this and knocked Tom out. Yep, he did knock Tom out downstairs. That's when he ripped off all the stuff out the window. And you know, Douglas, he comes upstairs with the gun in his hand, and he has his eyes closed, and he's trying to find Gary to shoot him. He did shoot him once, and I think he shot him right here in the collarbone. That is a collarbone, right? He shot him, but then you know, Gary got the best of Douglas, and Gary killed Douglas. So then you know, they go downstairs and they fighting, and like I said, that's where he killed Douglas, at downstairs. And then Tom is knocked out, but then he comes to, and then there's a shotgun right there in front of Tom. So you know, we see Gary and Tom both going for it, and then we just hear the gun go off. So then Tom comes upstairs, and that's when we realize Tom shot Gary. Thank God that motherfucker was dead. So now the only two left is Tom and Mallory and boy and girl. So then we fast forward 5 years into the present. We still see those, you know, Mallory and boy and girl on the boat, but no Tom. So then we kind of, it went back and forth. So then we had this scene where, you know, that we saw them as they got older. And we saw the scene where Tom was telling them about, you know, his childhood, and talking about a tree and climbing up to the top of the tree and seeing some kids playing. And Mallory got upset because she said it's giving them false hope. And I'm like, it's not necessarily giving them false hope. Like, you have to, you know, I know this is a dark and gloomy time, but you still have their kids, and you have to, you know, see the best in something. Don't just be negative, negative, negative. I don't know. In a post-apocalyptic time, I don't know if I would want to have kids in a post-apocalyptic time. Much like The Walking Dead. Okay, my video cut off, sorry. In a post-apocalyptic time, I don't know if I would want to have kids with me, especially like The Walking Dead with Judith. I'm sorry to tell you, Judith would have died when she was born. Hate to say that, but she would have died. Now we do see this scene where, you know, they've all adapted survival, you know, instincts. They know their way around the house in the dark, which is pretty cool. And then we see where they had a walkie-talkie, and there was someone by the name of Rick on the walkie-talkie. He was telling them that he, I guess, has a sanctuary, and they can come to him. He gives them directions about how to get there, and what else? He tells them that with the river, when they come down there, you know, the currents are bad in one area, so someone has to look. And in one of the scenes, we see where, you know, Mallory and boy and girl are in there, and weirdly enough, there was a man in the water, just floating in the water. I'm like, oh my god, like no. I would have did exactly the same thing that she did. Stab that motherfucker, like, get the fuck off of me, bitch. What the fuck? And then we also did find out from Gary that there are people that are possessed, but they can walk around. They haven't killed themselves. They can walk around, and they're trying to get other people to look into the light. It's crazy as shit. Oh my god. I don't know where this scene came into. I can't remember where this scene came into play at. I think this was when they took the boat and they landed somewhere, and, you know, Mallory went into a house, and she told boy and girl to stay in the boat, not to get out of it. But girl, little dumbass, decided she wanted to get out the boat, and, you know, she puts her hand out because the demons are surrounding her, and, you know, the leaves are coming up, and then we see she had this rope around her, and zoom, she got pulled back. It was Mallory pulling her little ass back. I'm like, you should have listened to her. Stayed in the motherfucking boat. So like I said, Rick. Now, Tom told them where they were. I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you tell these people where you are? You don't know if what they're saying is true. You don't know if they're possessed. Like, but he didn't tell them that they had kids with them. So I'm so happy about that. But then we see this scene where, like I said just a few minutes ago, there are people who can maneuver in this world and not kill themselves, but just want other people to look into the light. So we do see some people go to the house, and as they were getting ready to leave. So Tom goes out to stop those people while Mallory, boy and girl flee. So Tom does kill all the people, and then in order to get one of them that was trying to shoot Mallory and boy and girl, Tom had to take his blindfold off and shoot them. And then we see Tom kill himself. I'm like, oh, not Tom. Like, he made it almost through the end of the movie and dies. Bullshit. So then I'm gonna go back to the boat. So, you know, they're getting to the point where they're getting to the part of the river where the currents are bad. And, you know, Mallory tells boy and girl, one of them has to look out and navigate, help her navigate. I'm like, god damn, you're gonna sacrifice the kids? I'm like, okay. And I thought, because boy said he'll do it, she said, no, you're not gonna do it. And I'm like, oh shit, she finna have a little girl do it. And the little girl says, I'll do it. And then the look on her face is just like, oh my god, like, you really finna sit here and make this little girl that's not your child do this? But then she says, you know what, none of us are gonna look. So they're just going down there in, you know, in the currents, and they get flipped out the boat. And luckily enough, they all have little bells on them, so they just ring the bells and she can find them. So she found boy and she found girl. So then they are walking through the woods, and the creatures surround them. And, you know, she falls down an embankment, a hill, whichever one you want to call it. And, you know, they are, you know, she's telling them, you can hear little voices telling them to take off their blindfolds. It's okay. And she's telling them, no, that is not my voice. Do not take off your blindfolds. And then she could hear Tom's voice, and she didn't take off the blindfold, which I'm like, thank God. Like, do not take off your blindfold. So then we do see them. They make it to where they're going to. And, you know, they knock on the door, and she tells them she has kids with them. And the people ask them, they ask them some questions. I can't remember what they asked the questions about. So they let her in, and she meets Rick. And then we find out that this is a school for the blind. And also, Rick did tell them that listen for the birds, because the birds were significant in this movie. Which, and I forgot to mention that in the grocery store, she got some birds. Like, I've never saw birds in a grocery store. What kind of grocery store was that? Never mind. So they did make it there, and you know, like I said, it was a school for the blind. So the birds let them know when the creatures are, you know, coming, and so they can take cover, I guess. Which overall, it was a good movie. I know this wasn't the best review, because I'm trying to remember off the top of my brain stuff that happened in the movie. I enjoyed the movie. It was decent. Like I said, I would watch it again. And if you watch this video through, hope you've already watched the movie, because like I said, I spoiled pretty much the whole fucking movie for you. But like the video, leave me comments, subscribe to the channel, and I will see everybody later for Real Housewives of Atlanta